And we're pleased to be joined by Bill Harris, who is a retired broadcast anchor from Flint and also a longtime resident of Grand Blanc. Bill, thanks for being here this morning on Connecting America. We appreciate it. First of all,
Appreciate
tell
the
us where you
invitation,
were at
John.
the time of the shooting and what you actually saw on Sunday.
Well, it is reflecting on that day. Social media had put out a rumor that an active shooter situation was underway about 11 o'clock, and I was preparing to go to my local house of worship, Holy Family Church. And as you can see here, the smoke billowing, that is all that smoke was visible as I was entering the parking lot of Holy Family Parish. And then we got confirmation that it was indeed an active shooter situation.
Oh my gosh, Bill, this scene just looks apocalyptic. It's just so awful. And tell us about this community. I mean, we understand that it's very tight knit, but tell us about Grand Blanc.
Well, Allison, I hope the rest of the nation understands that the Grand Blanc community is unlike any other that would try to come together in a natural disaster situation or a critical incident situation like what happened on Sunday. Here in Michigan, I mean, we're not, you know, we've had our disasters before. We had a tornado here in Grand Blanc 2 years ago. We're just south of the Flint water crisis. Flint is only 5 miles up the road. So there's natural tendency in this community, not only in Grand Blanc, but all of mid-Michigan, to try and support one another, try and help one another. However, now, as the saying goes, it happened closer to home than many of us had hoped it wouldn't.
Bill, you've had some law enforcement active shooter training in the past. What was one of the overarching lessons you learned from that training?
An interesting question. We used to teach also safety in places of worship with a partner of mine. And of all the churches in the area that we would instruct, we would go to their house of worship and look at threat assessment and talk to the pastor or the rabbi. But there was always a sense on the volunteers that it can't happen here. And we try to reinforce that it can happen anywhere. Well, as I was entering my house of worship on Sunday, I silently said to myself, it happened here.
And now that it has, share with us what you're seeing in terms of what's being done to try to help your community cope and heal from this tragedy.
Well, there's a lot of evidence that there's grief, there's tears, there's fear. Talking to several generations, I'm a boomer, so I recall the JFK and those incidents. My daughter would be of the Columbine era, and now I have grandkids going to school here, and it touches me that when I hear my grandkids, one is in high school, the other is in grammar school, and both schools not far away from where this incident took place. There are different reactions. There is still fear, apprehension, but on the part of the grandkids, they're accustomed to locking in place something that never happened, when I was a kid. So I saw a lady yesterday outside of a local church in the parking lot with her hands spread out, and she was looking headward and she was praying. So I've got to believe there's a lot of fear still in this community, but there is no hesitancy that I can see where neighbor is looking to neighbor, parishioner is looking to parishioner, and total strangers are becoming neighbors and friends in search of consolation.
Mhm. Bill, we're just learning a little bit about the suspect. It sounds like he has a long-standing, deep-seated hatred against the Mormon Church. Do you all have any information on your end of what his motivation was here?
I do not, and I have close kind of association with the local law enforcement agencies and some of the federal agencies. So I don't want to go down that rabbit hole until the investigation is really complete. I mean, I've seen a lot of those thoughts on social media, but I'd rather say at this moment I wouldn't go there yet. Let's wait for the facts to come out.
Trend in these shootings lately. Shootings at churches. We've had this shooting now at this Church of the Latter-day Saints. There was a shooting at a Catholic church in Minneapolis not long ago. There have been shootings at synagogues, Baptist churches. Do you think that this is what we're going to keep seeing? in terms of shootings in the weeks and months ahead?
Weeks and months ahead, I wouldn't go that far to say, but churches are what we would call soft targets. By their sheer definition, I've talked to rabbis, pastors, Catholic priests, they want to keep their doors open, which is totally opposite of what you would expect to keep security in place of your place of worship. So, with that said, the proximity of this church is pretty much near I-75, a major expressway. The Holy Family Church. There were 3 or 4 churches just on this street alone, McCandless Road. So they're easy, soft targets, and if somebody wants to do ill harm, this is the place, unfortunately. How you minimize that threat is really dependent upon your congregation, your parish. There are some churches who have locked doors. You can't go into church. There are armed guards out in front. There are cruisers out in front. And others are saying, no, this is a house of worship. All are welcome.
Bill, we haven't really talked with you this morning about the victims, and they should not be forgotten. We know this is a close-knit community. Did you know any of them? And I know they range in age from very young to in their 70s. What do you know about the people who are impacted by this directly?
The one thing in my life, anyway, when I get to become the 6 degrees of separation, as you and I discussed yesterday, I'm sure I have contact with people who attended that place of worship, the LDS Church. It's a large community. It's a large parish. It's a large church. Do I right now know? There are some friends of mine, friends of friends, friends of my daughter. So yes, we do have some connection there, but I don't know of anyone yet who attended that church that day.
Yeah. Well, Bill Harris, thank you very much. We really appreciate checking in with you and learning a little bit more about Grand Blanc during this awful time there. Thank you.
Aren't those images just stunning of the fire that ensued after the shooting?
Yeah, and I mean, and as Bill just points out, his grandchildren are this generation that where, gun violence at churches, at schools has become so ubiquitous that they're the shelter in place generation. And that has such a lasting impact, obviously, on their lives.
Yeah, we
Yeah.
appreciate his perspective so very much.